Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. I am Tim Kernan. He is Mike Freshwater. Mike, nice to have you in studio again. How are you doing on this bright, crisp fall morning?
Feeling great. It's a little chilly here in the Gamecast Radio studios.
It is a little chilly in here.
I'll keep my hoodie on. I'll be fine. Got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Well, Mike, certainly a lot happening in the world of sports. I want to jump real quick back on the Michigan scandal story. It seems like things are changing by the hour in terms of what's going on up at Michigan.
Yeah, I just heard on the way over or this morning that the TRO, the temporary restraining order that Michigan has applied for legally to allow Jim Harbaugh on the field today to coach after being suspended for 3 games. He can coach during the week.
Okay.
But 3 games by the Big Ten yesterday, crazy timing, it will not be heard before today's game. So he will not be on the field coaching today at noon against Penn State. However, don't forget, this is the second 3-game suspension that he's had to serve this season. And he previously used 3 different guys to be the coach on the field or be the head coach during the game earlier this year. And so they've got experience dealing with this. And they didn't miss a beat in those 3 games, although the competition today and 2 weeks from today is going to be a little tougher than what they faced back then. But they've got experience doing it. They know, what to expect. They're familiar with the guys who have done it, and I don't really expect it to have much of a difference in the game. It didn't change the point spread, right? I mean, if Michigan's if we'd found out Michigan's starting quarterback J.J. McCarthy had gotten sick and wasn't going to play, the line would move, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that makes a difference. But the fact that the head coach isn't going to be there, especially given the experience they had with it earlier in the year, has not moved the line. So I don't know what that tells you, but I think they'll be fine without him, and makes the game and this stretch obviously a lot more interesting, a lot more drama.
Yeah, because certainly it's the week of preparation where you get ready for the game. By the time you're at game day, you've pretty much had your plans set in place. So I agree with you. Not a whole lot is going to change at that point.
No, I don't think so. If I was Jim Harbaugh, I think I would get a ticket and sit in the stands across from Penn State with
and
binoculars
and
a camera and be obvious about it. But what a mess, man! What a mess! A freaking mess. That other investigation is pending. It's still not final. He was suspended for 3 games, but it hasn't been finally concluded. So what a mess up in Michigan, and it couldn't happen to a better program.
Well, and you and I on the way home from our game last night talked a little bit about it, but it's a shame for the kids and for Michigan in a way, because Harbaugh's probably something's going to happen. Either he's going to lose his job at Michigan or he's going to move on to the NFL, and then the players and Michigan are going to be left with the problems.
I think that's correct. I think I can't imagine him lasting through this once it's all said and done. This 3-game suspension gives them 2 more weeks to find out more and get more evidence and more proof. And I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the 3 games, whether he gets suspended for the postseason and fully suspended, meaning not allowed to coach at all. We'll see, but it's embarrassing, and for my friends who are Michigan fans, and there aren't very many of them, but those out there who are, I feel sorry for them. I did. We went through this with Jim Tressel. No, by the way, when that all went down with Jim Tressel, Michigan fans were all over.
Oh, I'm sure.
They were all over it. They had zero mercy. And, that's the nature of the rivalry. And
turnabout is fair play, right?
It is. It is. And but if you read what the NCAA put out, the statement that they put out with information they got from the Big Ten, they clearly broke the rules.
Yeah.
And, I don't think they're done with it yet. I really think there's more to come.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's more to the story, and of course,
There's going to be
we'll continue
there's
to
going to be
update.
a big fine and potentially vacate some wins and all of that stuff. But which I think is so stupid. The vacate of wins is just dumb. But yeah, it's not done, and a lot more to come. Obviously.
Yeah, we'll certainly
Yep.
see how this
Yep.
affects this year, but
Yep.
that is still yet to be determined. It's as you mentioned, it's crazy, and it's going to keep evolving. So we'll certainly touch on that subject again. But getting back to, I mentioned you and I called the Alter football game, local high school here in town, Archbishop Alter. They took on Clinton Massey last night down at Monroe High School. That was the regional semifinal. The Knights came away with the 21-3 victory. And Mike, I tell you what, the Alter Knights looked very, very good in last night's ball game against the number one team in the state.
Against a very, very good team who admittedly was missing a couple key pieces.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter at this time of the season. You got to go out and do it with whatever you have available. And Alder dominated really. They shut down Massey's running game. Although when you look at the stats, I'm sure Massey's going to have a significant number of rushing yards. It didn't matter because they never scored. They never scored a touchdown. And so Alder's defense was really, really good again last night. The offense good enough. And I think. It was a little bit of a surprise, as you say, the final score, but Alder seems to be able to rise to the occasion. One of a few teams, if there are any others that have gotten this far with as many as 3 losses, and they're playing well. They're hitting their stride at the right time.
There was a huge sequence in that ball game, I thought, Mike. It was almost at the end of the second quarter. Alter was up 21-0. Clinton Massey was driving, and it looked like they were probably going to take one in for a score. The Alter Knights defense stopped them on 4th down, 4th and goal, stopped them.
At the 1 yard line.
Yeah, and had Clinton Massey scored there, it would have been halftime, 21-7, and Clinton Massey gets the ball to start the second half. So that was a huge point in the game, especially for that Alter defense.
I think it was. I think if I had to pick out another big moment, that's the Massey fumble early in the first quarter that led to a touchdown. Once you get ahead, especially 2 scores ahead against a team like Clinton Massey, you've got them right where you want them. And so, that play that led to the touchdown, and then the goal line stand at the end on some questionable play calling by Clinton Massey right there, was huge. And Alder didn't score in the second half, right? Didn't score. Didn't need to.
No, they didn't need to. Their play calling got a little vanilla.
Sure, very conservative.
But why wouldn't you?
Correct.
So it was. I thought it was a gem called by the offensive staff of Alter and Tom Alig, the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, they were ready. I texted my brother, or we talked to him on the way. I think I texted him afterwards that Alter was clearly the more prepared team for that game last night, and that's credit to the coaches.
Absolutely. So Alter, of course, defeated Clinton Massey. They will advance to the regional final, and they will take on Wyoming, who defeated Shawnee last night, and that was a close ball game.
21-20, and Wyoming knocked them off. I think that's a 5 and a 6 seed game, which is unusual. We got a 4 and a 6 in the regional final, which I'd have to look at all the other brackets, but I doubt there's 2 teams that were seeded that way. In other words, we don't have the 1, 2, or 3 seed in the finals of this region, and I don't know if you can find another region where you could say that about any division. And you would think on paper, if you look at scores and things that have happened, results, Alder would be a significant favor next week, but at this point in the season, none of that matters. You have to go out and play, and you're only 1 game away from the state semifinals and 3 wins away from the state championship, which is amazing.
It really is. If we go all the way back to the preseason, I think you and I thought that they certainly had a chance to be very good this year. We didn't know how good. They had some tough ball games in the first half of the season, and of course we've talked before about Hamilton Baden. They're, the king of the hill at the moment in the Greater Catholic League Conference, but this Alter team has gotten better and better each week, and I really think, I don't know. Who knows if we've seen them play their best football this year yet or not? But they're playing very well.
They're on the roll, on a roll at the right time. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. And folks, we'll head into our college football discussion. And of course, Mike is a huge Ohio State fan. I am a Notre Dame fan. So that is a lot of what we cover here on the show. And Mike, will dive right into Notre Dame. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch that Clemson game, but what happened is exactly what was playing out in my mind prior to the game. And that is the most disgusting feeling as a fan when you feel like the doom is going to happen and it plays out exactly the way you fear. Notre Dame's offense was pathetic in this game, absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, this every time Notre Dame loses, it makes that win Ohio State had over them a lot less meaningful.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's Sam Hartman came in with so much promise, and
he is not playing well.
Yeah, he's not playing well. He is not.
No, he is not, and I still think Notre Dame has an elite defense. The defense was not the problem. In the second half, the Notre Dame defense stopped Clemson on their last 6 possessions, and Sam Hartman threw an interception on their second to the last final drive, and you thought the game was over at that point. But Notre Dame's defense gets the ball back on a fumble, and Notre Dame's offense fizzles again. They did absolutely nothing in that second half, never rewarded the defense with anything. And the defense gave them every chance in the world to win that game, and they couldn't do it.
Right. Yeah, but I think Clemson also is maybe a little underrated. I mean, especially here the second half of the season.
They are.
They got off to a slow start, but they're very talented. They have a very good roster in terms of the prospects that they've recruited over the past 3 years, and Dabo Swinney's still a good coach, and that wasn't an easy game going in, but you have to perform, and Notre Dame's offense needs some answers.
Boy, they sure do. Jared Parker is the offensive coordinator in his first year. He was tight ends coach, was promoted to offensive coordinator. There's a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors going around about his future. Some people are saying they're going to bring him back to be the tight ends coach because he's a very good tight ends coach. And some others are saying that they're going to release him and get an offensive coordinator. None of that is official. I have heard nothing from the university regarding that. So something to watch. We'll see going forward. But I think Coach Freeman has to evaluate the whole program, Mike. I don't know if you at this point would say that the season's necessarily a failure, but there's really, besides pride and finishing strong and looking forward to the next season, there really isn't a whole lot to play for left for Notre Dame in this season.
There isn't. I think pride is about all they have, and playing time. There's guys that want to keep their positions. There's guys behind them. Behind them that want to play. So from an individual perspective, those guys are going to play hard and do what they can to hold on to their position, and or the guys behind them, if they get a chance when they get in, they're going to do the same. So, it's tough when you get this far. Expectations so high. What did Notre Dame start preseason? Number 8 or 9, I think.
Something.
I think 7, 8, 9 when Ohio State played them. I think they were definitely top 10, and it just hasn't gone their way. And learn from it and keep moving forward. Marcus Freeman's a good coach. They'll figure it out, and it's a great place to go coach. I'm sure they reimburse their coaches nicely, and he'll find an offensive coordinator that that'll fit in there and rouse them up, I'm sure.
Yeah, it really has been their problem. I don't want to over exaggerate it, but the offensive side of the ball has been their problem for at least 10 seasons, and it goes all the way back to the Kelly years. They just have not had an elite offense, and it has hurt them because I think they have been very good on defense, especially this year.
Yeah,
Their defense
I don't
is
understand
fantastic.
why it is
I
they have
don't
trouble getting
either.
guys. I mean, you're talking about a quarterback, probably a couple running backs, and a couple wide receivers. I mean, it's not like you're trying to break the bank there. I'm sure they're always going to be able to get dudes to come in there and play the offensive line. But what's so hard about getting some of those skilled guys to come from Notre Dame? I don't understand it.
It has been a problem, and you absolutely hit the nail on the head. It has been the wide receiver position and the quarterback. Ironically, Notre Dame, at least right now, has C.J. Carr committed. He will be a freshman next year, and he is the grandson of Coach Lloyd Carr from Michigan.
Oh,
Believe
my.
it or not,
How about that?
He's a 5-star. Although I think he may be a high 4 right
Maybe
now.
they need to give out more NIL money. I mean, I'm serious. Maybe it's an NIL issue.
It could be,
right?
but you know, their offensive problems were even prior to NIL. But it is definitely something that Coach Freeman is going to have to figure out. He's a young coach. I still like him a lot. I still think he's going to be successful there. But the offensive side of the ball is something that they're going to have to figure out. And boy, I tell you what, Al Golden, who is the defensive coordinator, they need to find a way to hold on to him. I don't know what his plans are, but I hope that they have offered him something to keep him at Notre Dame.
Pretty veteran, pretty veteran coach.
He was at the Bengals prior to coming.
Yeah, and I
to
think
Notre
he's
Dame.
coached at college before too.
He has,
and in the NFL even before that. So he's been around. Maybe he likes it there. Maybe that's where he's at in his career, and hopefully they keep him because he is a good one. And they seem to be able to get the athletes on the defensive side of the ball, at least the ones that good enough to compete like they are. So they'll come around. They'll figure it out. And
I hope so.
Next year they'll be they hit the portal hard, right? Hit the portal hard this off season and see what you can find, and maybe you can improve that way.
Yeah, and that's before we move on to Ohio State. My final point, and that's you kind of brought something up there too that's important. There's a lot of discussion at Notre Dame right now. Do they want to go to the portal again for a quarterback?
I think they have.
Because
Sam didn't work out too well, but still that's
I
not going to ruin. That doesn't change what is out there in terms of your opportunities.
I think you need to bring in a veteran guy, unless you want to go with Steve Angeli, who is a junior this year. I think he's a redshirt junior, and go with him. He's looked pretty solid when he's come in, but a lot of storylines there up at Notre Dame that I'm sure we'll be talking in the off season and next winter and spring.
Sounds good.
So, Mike, let's head into Ohio State. They took on Wisconsin last weekend. They take on Michigan State at home tonight at 7:30. They're favored by 18.5. I thought Ohio State had a little bit of an ugly first half against Rutgers last week, but they pulled away in the end and won 24-10. I've been saying it to you the last couple of weeks, but Ohio State does what they have to do to get the W.
I think it was 31-16, Tim, for some
reason.
Oh,
maybe I have the wrong.
I know that the margin was much bigger than 10.
Maybe I have the wrong.
But anyway, that's fine. No, that's fine. No, I've said this before. I don't understand it, but evidently Ryan Day and his staff are able to make adjustments at halftime because they've done this multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And they've gotten off to a slow start and then bounce back and do well in the second half. And ultimately the final score, if you didn't watch the game, looks a little bit more decisive. And sometimes it's just enough to cover. But I don't know why they can't figure that out along the way during the game, because they're not going to be able to do that against Michigan. And if they get past Michigan, whoever else they have to play along the way, they have to figure out how they can get off to a better start. And hopefully tonight they can do that. Michigan State's not terrible. It's going to be a tough game. It's a Big Ten game. It always is. And I want to see them get off to a quick start tonight and have a little bit of a cushion at halftime and see how they react to that. But I don't know why I don't know why they seem to get off to a slow start every week. It's kind of inexplicable.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. Michigan blew out Michigan State, but Ohio State doesn't have Michigan State's plays like Michigan does. So
that's a good point.
They're probably going to have to battle a little bit more. But I think Ohio State, especially at home and at night, they probably won't have a problem with this one. I don't think.
You would think not. He's been able to keep them focused. We talked about some trap games leading up to Penn State. They still won. We're looking at a couple trap games now leading up to Michigan, this one and next week. But Day seems to do a pretty good job of keeping them focused. And I would be surprised if it's a real close game all the way to the end tonight. But I'd really want to see them come out and do well early, and then keep that momentum up, coming back out in the second half and doing the second half what they've been doing past several weeks, and maybe pull away. But we just need to keep getting better and better and better. I mean, people aren't giving them any respect. They really aren't across the board. When you hear the experts talk about the college football playoffs in the first four, final four, whatever you want to call them, they don't give Ohio State respect. They almost all of the impartial guys say they're not the best team. They just have the best resume. And they've been saying that over and over and over again. So they're not getting the respect in that way from most of the people who think they know what they're talking about across the country. And it's hard for me to disagree with them. I think I'll have a better bead on Michigan after today. And, we'll see what happens there. But Ohio State keeps getting better. And I said it last week, I'll say it again. The return of Travion Henderson is absolutely huge for them, and I think it's making a big difference, and I think it's going to make a big difference down the stretch.
Well, and Ohio State sits there at number 1 right now, and there was a lot of chatter, certainly in the beginning of the season, about Ryan Day, and I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. But Mike, do you think he has silenced some of those critics?
I think for now, I mean, he's only going to be as good as the last time he played Michigan, to most people. If you look at his overall record, he has not done obviously well the past couple of years against Michigan, but I think that's ultimately what people have a tendency to judge him on here in Ohio. So, I don't think the critics are quiet just yet, but if he can get that big win and get into the playoffs, he will definitely quell them. That's for sure.
Yeah, their remaining schedule, of course, they, as I mentioned, they will take on Michigan State tonight at home at 7:30 on NBC, and then they will be home versus Minnesota next week, and that time of that game is to be announced. And then, of course, the big one, they will be at Michigan on November the 25th at noon on Fox. And, of course, that is always after Thanksgiving. And always, it's always a fun time of year when you get, obviously, to Thanksgiving, but you have that great weekend of football. And so it should be exciting, Mike. And I agree with you. I think there's a couple of trap games, but I think Ohio State is going to be fine, at least until that Michigan game.
Yeah, I think so. I can't wait. That's going to make for a tremendous Thanksgiving weekend, and hopefully I'm going to go into a little more confidence by then, and it will be where we're at with the Harbaugh cheating scandal. But if that isn't the most watched college football game this year, if not of the past 10 years, I'll be surprised.
Well, absolutely. The last couple of years, it's just been a phenomenal game. And,
yes.
So it will be again. So, folks, speaking of Ohio State, we're going to bring Jeff Gilbert on, the Ohio State and local high school sports guru. And, Jeff, do we have you on the Gamecast Radio hotline? Jeff, are you there? No, I'm not sure. I mean, we may have to go back to Jeff. We're not getting him right now.
Try again. But Jeff is, there we go. We got a ring tone there.
Well, we'll get back to Jeff as soon as we can. Mike, heading into, until we get Jeff on the line, just a little bit of pro football, a couple headlines. Kyler Murray should be back for the Cardinals after 10 weeks of football. And the Bengals. Joe Burrow did just enough, I thought, versus Buffalo on that Sunday night game. The Bengals move out to 5-3. Their winning streak is now at 4 games, and they will host the Texans at home this Sunday. So the Bengals seem to be finding their footing. and certainly have won some big ball games. Of course, that game on the road versus San Francisco. And, as a Bengals fan, you just really hope that those early losses, those early in-division losses won't hurt them later on down the road.
You certainly hope not, but things go their way this weekend. They could be right back, right there at the top. If the Browns somehow can knock off the Ravens, which is possible, unlikely but possible, and the Bengals win, that puts the Bengals right back, where they probably were about this time last year, and one game out behind the Ravens, and probably in a position to control their own destiny. Jeff, have you joined?
Here, I'm in
Okay.
the gym.
All right, we got Jeff now.
Are you good to talk?
Did we lose him?
Basketball scrimmage. No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Are you good to talk?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was up in a noisy gym. I just got out. I just finished practice, and there's a girls team coming in for a scrimmage, and I got the music blaring.
I got you.
So,
No problem.
anyway.
Yeah, no problem. It's all
Again,
good.
folks, we are joined by Jeff Gilbert. He writes for PressPros.com for Ohio State football and basketball, and he also covers local high school sports here in the Dayton area for the Dayton Daily News. Jeff, we were talking a little bit earlier about the Alter Clinton Massey game, and I wouldn't use the word shocked for Mike and I, but we were certainly a little bit surprised with the outcome. Certainly thought that Alter could win, but we didn't think it would be in such dominating fashion.
Yeah, I was, like I said, I was over at the shot last night, and I was keeping up with the scores during timeouts, checking scores and stuff, and I saw they were up 21-0, and I was like, whoa,
Right.
okay, this team's for real.
Right.
I mean, I remember, and I wrote something this week about him, talking to Coach about him, and he, and I said, well, I saw the two losses, like Fairmont and Trotwood, and I was like, you guys look better. And he's like, yeah, we're better. We're getting it. We're coming, and we're still kind of young, and we're going to get better. And what did they always say? Be playing your best football at the end,
Absolutely.
at the end of the season. And they are clearly doing that. I mean, who do they have now? They have
Springfield Shawnee, who
No, they
beat
play Wyoming.
or Wyoming, excuse me.
Shawnee.
Yeah, Wyoming, who beat Springfield Shawnee 21-20, real late in that game last night.
I look at that score, and I think you beat Massey, you got a great shot to win next week.
Yeah, that's
they
what
have
we.
a great shot.
Yeah. I think you know this, but Wyoming beat, Indian Hill beat Wyoming earlier in the regular season to stop the longest regular season win streak of like 75 in the state of Ohio, and we manhandled Indian Hill last week. So if you want to look at in high school, I think that's a little bit more predictable sometimes. When you start doing those comparing scores and results and things like that.
Right.
But we all said going in, given that's a 5 or a 6 and a 7 seed game, Wyoming and Shawnee, we went in thinking the winner of Massey and Alder would win the region, and I still kind of feel that way even more now after what happened last night.
Yeah, what was good? I mean, what did they do really well?
The defense was absolutely fantastic. They just continue, really, since about halfway through the season, not only to get better, but to they are absolutely just shutting down teams' offenses. Clinton Massey had a little bit of success on the ground last night, but when Alter needed to make a stop, they did it. And, they continue to run the ball well, Alter does. They had some big running plays, right, Mike?
Yes.
Definitely had some big runs. Noah Jones had about I think it was around a 65, 70 yarder.
70-some yarder.
Yeah.
But he ran about 100.
Yeah, he was switching fields and coming back and breaking it back each way. But, yeah, Jeff, I tell you what, I think it is the defense really that is carrying the night. I think carrying might be a little bit strong of a word, because the offense is still doing great too, but the defense is just playing at a peak level.
It sets the tone right from the beginning last night. They forced a fumble by Clinton Massey down inside their own 20, Massey's own 20, that led quickly to a touchdown. and then it was just they shut them down thereafter. The Clinton Massey kicked a late field goal. Not sure why they even attempted that, but kicked a late field goal. And that, other than a drive right at the end of the second quarter when they got it down to the 1 yard line and couldn't punch it in, that's as close as they got. And when you're, I said this last night, when you're as one-dimensional, and Jeff, you know this, when you're as one-dimensional as a team like Clinton Massey is. I mean, they only had 24 pass attempts coming into the game on the season. When you get this deep, you have to have more balance. You got to be able to try to play catch up if you get behind. They had
you just maul somebody.
They had no idea how to come back. They didn't know how to run a hurry up offense. They didn't know how to spread the field. I mean, it was like shocking to watch them almost conceding in the fourth quarter because they literally had no idea on how to mount a comeback.
There was no urgency.
I mean, no urgency, no scheme, no nothing to come back. And so if you don't have some balance, unless you're just like Cole Rain of 20 years ago when they just blew everybody away, running the wishbone and running the ball, you have to have some balance. And right? I mean, you can't look at the teams that are left now. I almost guarantee you, none of them were really dominant running teams as far as almost never passing the ball, right? I mean, so
yeah, it's probably pretty true. It's probably very true in that. I mean, you can be run heavy, but you've got to be able to do some other things,
right?
Most of the time, unless you are just so much better than everybody,
right.
And nobody can stop you. You've got to be at that level for that to carry you all the way. It can carry you to a lot of good seasons. It can carry you to a 10-0 season. It can get you a couple 30 games in the playoffs. But at some point, when they had that Bailey Wolf kid a few years ago.
Yes. Chase Wolf too, I think, was right before him.
Right. That, they won a couple state titles,
they
right?
Did.
So that,
they did.
And with that system, and they had the personnel to just be dominant, and their defense was good enough that they didn't fall behind. But, so tell me about Rod Owens. Did he carry the ball much last night? I've been seeing he's been getting some carries and really helping that running.
Yeah, he got some. Had an early 25 or 30-yard touchdown run. Definitely coming around. Much more improved. I mean, obviously, when you're a sophomore and you get this deep into the season with all that experience, you better have gotten better, right? And he's gotten better. He's a threat. He's got pretty good speed out in the open field. I mean, he looks to me, don't list Rod at 6 foot, but he looks bigger than me down there on the field with all those guys. And so the combination of him and Noah Jones is pretty good. And Noah went over 1,000 yards rushing last night, and he's probably averaging 6 or 7 yards per carry. So, but Rod Owens is coming around and doing really well, and a major part of the offense now.
Yeah, is this defense? Is it? I mean, I know it's a team effort. Does anybody stand out on that, or is it just 11 guys that all just do their job?
Henry Riefschneider,
the middle linebacker.
Oh yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He's absolutely fantastic. But their line, they were just spot on last night with pressure. I thought defensive coordinator Tom Alick just called a fantastic game, but it seemed like when the Knights brought pressure, it was right at the right moment and the right time. And on a lot of possessions, they would stop Clinton Massey right when they had to. But yeah, Riefschneider and Mike, I thought Deddens had a good game.
Yeah, I like Michael Russ as a two-way player, really aggressive and fast at the safety or cornerback position, comes up and run help really well. He's very good athlete, very physical. Henry Riefschneider is probably going to be, I'll be shocked if he's not the GCL co-ed defensive player of the year. He had 110 tackles coming into last night, and a bunch of them behind the line of scrimmage, and just really good going sideline to sideline. Physical kid, and he had a great game last night. But I'd say Riefschneider, Russ, the sophomore Nolan Ogburn, who's a D tackle, doing really well. So there's enough to go around there, that's for sure.
I want to add one too, Jeff. And it's not just defense, although he does play defense as well. But Mike, I think you would agree with me. Colin Wayner has just had a fantastic season for the Knights. He
Punter,
punts.
yeah.
He receives punts. He plays defensive back.
Kickoff returns.
Yeah, and he just Coach Willits, who is the special teams coach for Alter, calls him a Swiss Army knife, and he really is.
He turned into they didn't have a punter coming in or a clear choice for a punter coming in, and Colin took it on and developed the rugby style punt, and has had a couple fakes for big long gains this year. And for somebody to pick that up kind of on the fly in the off season or early in the season and get really good at it is a major accomplishment. But they're good.
He's just a football player, right?
Yeah.
He's got IQ for the game, understands the game, and willing to work hard to figure it out. Yeah,
you got it.
Well, we picked. We had our big panel last week ago Thursday on the All Southwest football team, and that'll be coming out this week. I can't divulge any information yet on that.
Okay. But, make sure you send that to us, Jeff.
Certainly, Reese Snyder was his name came up for sure. It'll be published all over the place, and try to send you a copy of it as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely retweet that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll have that out there. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, let's move on to Ohio State. I'm assuming that you'll be going up for the game today.
I'll be down there tonight. Yeah.
Mike and I talked a little bit before we brought you on. Ohio State started off a little slow last week, but looked better in the second half, pulled away. Those are tough games to get around, especially when you have bigger games looming on the schedule.
Yeah.
But I think, I've been saying it all fall, and unfortunately, I think it's the difference between a program like Ohio State and a program like Notre Dame right now. Ohio State, they find a way to win. I mean, they've been there, they've done that. And they're doing what they need to do, and I think they're getting better each week, at least as far as where I sit.
I think they are. I think they are. I think you go on the road, and people don't want to. A lot of fans don't want to go on the road, Big Ten, blah blah blah. These teams, who's records, blah blah. There's a lot of in the fan base for these teams like Ohio State. There's a lot of fans are just dismissive of everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's just, Schiano's a good coach. If you know anything about the last 20 years of college football, he put them on the map one time. He's trying, and he might do it again.
Yeah.
That team, to see them in person. I mean, they hit hard. They tackled well. They were fundamental. They blocked well. That they played with the talent they have. I think it would. I don't know what Schiano said after the game. I didn't hear him or read anything he said, but I don't know. I mean, I've seen Rutgers Player of the Years on television, and I'm like, this team probably got as much out of the talent that they have that they could have on Saturday. And it certainly wasn't enough, but it's like they came to play. They did not. They were not scared. They were not intimidated. They absolutely came to play. Ohio State left some points on the field in the first half, which they routinely do. They are a second-half team. They wear you down. They find ways to make plays. They had 4 possessions in the second half, and they scored 3 touchdowns. Well, that's a pretty good percentage. So
yes,
there were plays here and there in the first. They had 2 drops. This team, people get on McCord, but I've seen more drops this year out of the Ohio State's receivers than I can recall seeing. I don't know the numbers on that, but I guarantee you it's higher, or it's at least as much as we've seen in recent years. I mean, they had 2 drops for first downs. They had another one they had to hurry and get it out quick that came up a yard short of a first down. They had a couple penalties. They just stuff that just like one thing would go wrong and it would get them off schedule. Now, great teams sometimes find a way to get back on schedule, but it doesn't always work. Second half, and TreVeyon Henderson right now, I think I put him up against any running back in the country right now. So
I think Mike would agree with you.
Yeah, no, I think he's absolutely the difference maker and what they needed heading down the stretch. Jeff, why do you think it is they start so slow?
I think you have a maturing quarterback. They didn't, and Rutgers played double highs. They were crowding the sidelines, taking away everything Ohio State typically wants to do and excels at. And I think it just took them a while to figure out how to attack them differently and better. I know it sounds like, they ought to be able to fix that right away, but it takes some time sometimes. You got to see it a few times. And then, as I said, it was just a play on each drive that they didn't score on. It was just like one play, one thing would happen, and it would just throw them off. And those things can happen in games, and I don't know. There's no real answer. I mean, I think if there was a simple answer, Ryan David would know it before I would, and he'd have fixed it by now, and they'd score 35 points in the first half of the game.
Well, they better figure it out. They better figure it out before November 24th or whatever that date is. They can't. They can't come out and start off. I mean, they're relying on their defense obviously, and they were slow against Penn State early. They just have to figure it out, I think, before they go to Ann Arbor. But
I mean, I traditionally am a person who doesn't. I mean, fast starts are nice. Good starts are nice. You definitely don't want to get down by 3 touchdowns in the first half.
Right. That's my concern.
But I also put very little stock in halftime scores. I'm like,
yes, ditto. I mean, I agree.
I'm like, I've said for years, and I say it to all my friends who we get in text like, this first half. I'm like, guys, relax. I said, the most inconsequential score in sports is the halftime score.
That's true.
And so just wait.
Yep.
I remember that. If you go back to when Urban was cut, the year they won the championship, Alabama had them down by like 2 touchdowns in the first half. They scored 2 touchdowns late in the first half, and that changed the game around. That could have happened just as easily early in the third quarter. So, I mean, it's just relax. It's going to come. It's going to come. And that's just kind of who they are.
Yeah.
I called them the second half Buckeyes last week.
Yep.
This is who they are. Now, tonight is a game that if they were ever going to have a fast start and put a team away in the first half, tonight's the night.
Yeah.
Because Michigan State is not very good. I don't know that they can do it against Minnesota because Minnesota's physical and tough and will play super hard.
Yep.
But I don't know what Michigan State's capable of tonight.
I think that line's
they're a mess.
That line's 17.5 though. I mean, that's not horrible, right?
Well, it's not, but that's part of because of the way Ohio State's played it, because they're averaging 32 points a game.
Right.
Ohio State's not averaging 45 points a game or 42 points a game like they have.
Yeah,
the past are averaging 32 points a game.
True.
So that's why they haven't done it. And they're still ranked number 1. I don't know. People keep saying, no, they don't look like a number 1 team. Well,
everybody's
what's the number 1 team
that.
supposed to look like? What's the number 1 team supposed to look like?
I know.
I mean, they are. You're supposed to win, which they are. Not every team. There's no one way you do this. You go back to Tressel's championship team. How many times did we think they were going to lose that year?
Oh, holy Buckeye! I can remember that game.
Holy Buckeye, the Cincinnati game. Cincinnati threw the ball in the end zone.
I was there for that one. Yeah.
Were you? I mean, I remember that Holy Buckeye. I was living in Virginia, and I was actually driving to a funeral, and I had the game on the radio. Somehow I picked it up on the radio down there, and I heard it.
Yeah.
I heard it on the radio, and I about drove off the road. It's like unbelievable. And then,
did we lose Jeff?
Yeah, if people don't remember Holy Buckeye, that's the Craig Krenzel. The person who caught the ball is escaping me right now. But it was a late touchdown pass in a game they were about ready to lose to Illinois, I think it was, or was it Purdue? And that game, kind of projected them, into down the stretch and into a position to play for the national championship game. So. That was spectacular. Here
I am. I'm back.
Yeah. Just talking about Holy Buckeye a little bit, but
right. And the next point I made, I think, when we fell away was I would rather be in a position this season of where I can trust my defense than last year when I couldn't. Last year I could score 45 points a game, but I was also maybe going to give up 45. This year I'm scoring 32 a game, but I haven't given up 20 all year. I mean.
Yeah.
You know, I'm you know, I've been thinking about that this week, and and that, you know, I might write something here coming up soon with that sort of theme to it of like, you know, you know, and Ryan Day keeps getting asked like for like 3 weeks there in the middle of the season, like, Ryan, is it okay winning with your defense? And you know, Ryan's like, yeah, it is, man, guys. Of course it is. Yeah, it's like, you know,
That would be a hell yes.
It would be the first It would be the first question of like, so Ryan, you think how do you don't mind winning with defense? I see. Like, no, it's great, guys, it's great. You know, we still want to get better on offense, of course, but trust me, Jim Knowles is saving his rear end this year. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
I mean, he is.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
well, Jeff, we haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. I know you were up in Wisconsin. We wanted to find out, did you have a good time up there? And two, what is your plan for the rest of the day today? I know you'll be heading up to Ohio State here probably early afternoon for the game tonight. But how was your trip to Wisconsin?
Wisconsin was great. I have it's fun. My wife decided to go with me. She never usually does anything like this with me, of course. I mean, you know, I'm just going off working. And we thought, hey, let's just make the weekend trip of it. So we drove up on Friday. You know, it was a night game, so we got out and around and found a good place to eat, a couple places, and went down Madison and just, you know, we hit a couple places and shops and, you know, just kind of saw the sights a little bit. We had a good time. Awesome. And then that's a great atmosphere there. The stadium isn't usually full at the start. It sort of takes them a while to all get in there. But when they do, let me tell you,
it's rocking.
And it's rocking, and the jump around.
Love the jump around.
I've got video. I'll send it to you guys.
I'd love to see it.
And I'm in and you can. So when you look at the video in the lower left corner of the screen, you can see part of somebody's computer screen sitting there on the tape on the counter, and it's moving back and forth like about 4 or 5 inches.
That's a little scary.
Oh, it's wild. It's like we suppose the structural engineers have said this is okay.
Yes.
You know? And the guy sitting next to me is from like a radio station up there. He says, "Oh, before they remodeled the press box, there was a pipe back here." And he holds his hand up, and he's like, "It used to move back and forth like this," and he was moving his hand about 10 inches.
Oh my!
So it was an exposed pipe, and
if you haven't seen it, Google the little special they did on ESPN about how that all started. It's pretty interesting. But basically, it started in a bar on campus, and just ultimately made its way to the stadium, and now it's a big tradition. And man, it's a little scary.
I was glad I was there for it. It's like that's one of those things I'm glad I experienced. It would have been cool to be down in the middle of it, but to be up there and feel it moving was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it was fun, and it turned out to be, you know, it was a good game. And
yes.
So
hey, Luke Fickell will get them back, and they'll be competitive in the new Big Ten. There's no doubt about that.
They will. Luke Fickell will get them ranked, and he'll beat somebody he shouldn't beat, and he'll become the team to beat at some point. He'll have a couple years like that where they're challenging for it.
Absolutely.
There'll be all these other teams coming in, and you know, the typical ones, and then here comes Wisconsin, and they're not going to really sneak up, but they're going to sneak up a little bit, but not a lot. But just to, you know, sort of like they'll be good. They'll be good. They'll be physical, and they'll be hard to deal with.
Yep.
Well, when do you head up today, Jeff? And certainly
I'll probably leave around 3:30, something like that. I'm going to try to watch some of the Penn State Michigan game. I don't know what I'm doing exactly. I got a brand new niece who was born yesterday.
Oh, congratulations!
Thanks. And Kettering, but my sister's a grandmother for the second time.
That's awesome.
And so she's at Kettering. Might run in there, might not. We're not sure how it's going to work out our day, but anyway. So saw the Buckeyes play basketball last night. So, and then tonight, and then I'm going to Bengals game Sunday. So
fantastic.
Is that professionally or
no? Just as a fan, going with my daughter.
Okay.
My daughter who's like 30. She's my sports fan. Of the 3 girls I raised, the others aren't against it, but they're not into it like she is, and so
awesome.
she's in town, and we have tickets, so we're going to go
I have three girls, Jeff, and I have one that's just like that as well.
I was blown away by what I saw on TV the other night of the atmosphere down there and how they were all dressed in alternate orange and black, and the fireworks and the smoke and the music and everything.
Fantastic.
It wasn't all that long ago. They did nothing like that down there. Nothing. And now all of a sudden it's like a big attraction.
Winning has a way of doing that, Mike.
That's true.
Oh, winning is the best marketing there is.
Yeah.
So.
But just the atmosphere and the way they presented themselves in the stadium was, and I heard around the stadium it was the same way. So good for them. The fans are fired up, and I took them in my survivor pool real quickly. I'm in a survivor pool that I finished in the top 7 last year and won $7,000 doing it. 3,500 entries. We're down to under 500. I have one left. And I took the Bengals this week.
So they got to win.
If they don't win, I just feel like they're going to screw me one way or the other here. But no,
they're going to. I think they'll win this.
I think even without Jamar or even without T. Higgins, they can still win, right?
Right. Because they can, and I think Jamar will play. I think Stroud.
He's not doing that again.
He's not having that game again. He's great. I'm very happy for him, but he's not doing that again.
Right.
Not against the Bengals defense.
Right now,
the Bengals defense is maybe the most underrated unit in the NFL.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's $70,000 at stake. I want to stay alive to try to win some of that at the end again.
Well, Jeff, we always appreciate you joining us. Always appreciate your commentary. Have a great day. Enjoy the game tonight and enjoy the Bengals game tomorrow. And
hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Jeff, let us know if ahead of time if you are happen to be covering
there we are.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Hey, let us know if you happen to be doing our game next week ahead of time. I don't know if you're going to be doing it.
I will. Where's that? So they're going to play.
We don't
know yet.
It'll be south of Dayton. It might be back.
Yeah.
It might be back in Monroe.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be. I saw scores last night, and I think Alter would be the game for me to be at.
Yeah, Springfield, Alder. I'm trying to think of the other teams in the Dayton area that are still alive. There aren't very many.
Those are the two core, like, big time teams that get a lot of eyeballs on coverage from us.
Right. And you called it, by the way.
Those are the two core area schools. Yeah.
You called Springfield. You called them several weeks ago when you said you didn't want to. They're struggling with their new quarterback and blah 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 blah. But you wouldn't want to have to run into them in the playoffs. And you hit the nail on the head. They dominated Dublin Kaufman last night.
Yeah, 5th straight time to the regional final. They beat Olentangy.
With what, 3?
They beat Olentangy last night.
Or was it Olentangy Orange?
Yeah, number one seed.
Yeah, my bad. Okay, and but they have 3 losses, right? Wayne or Springfield, 3 or 4?
They lost 5. They went 5-5.
5 games.
That's crazy.
But Jeff called it.
Yeah,
they were 12 seed, 5-5, and they're too talented.
Yep,
too talented, and they get everybody healthy. And get their focus and say, and Mo's great at saying, "It's a new season.
Yeah,
it's a new season, guys. What happened these last 10 weeks matters not. We're in the tournament. We can do this."
Yeah.
And I think I don't know who they play, but they're going to win. I can't believe they're not going to win.
It might be Dublin Kaufman. That's probably where
it might be. I don't remember, but I haven't looked at it all yet. But I think they'll win.
All right, Jeff. We'll have a great day. Enjoy the game tonight and enjoy the Bengals. Get a W for us, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Living the dream, Jeff Gilbert.
And, of course, that was Jeff Gilbert. He writes for PressPros.com, which covers Ohio State, and he also writes for the Dayton Daily News here in town.
His real job is as a professor of journalism at Cedarville.
That's right. And he has a part-time job of joining Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. Although he does that for free, which is very nice.
He's great. Well, he's not getting paid?
No.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You can at least have free coffee for me here when I show up, Tim.
It's inside. We can get that. Micah, we'll jump real quickly here. We were talking a little bit about the Bengals before Jeff joined. You mentioned it, but T. Higgins will miss the game versus the Texans. He has a little hamstring issue. Remaining schedule is a gauntlet for the Bengals. They play the Ravens away, Steelers at home, Jaguars away, Colts at home, Vikings at home, Steelers away, Chiefs away. And they seem to be playing the Chiefs yearly now. And, of course, they'll wrap up the regular season at home against the Browns. So Bengals just have to keep winning if they want to stay a part of the discussion. But we'll go over the Browns real quickly here. Deshaun Watson returned. What's your assessment of his play last week?
Got off to a little bit of a slow start, but came around a little bit and had a nice game ultimately. The problem tomorrow is going to be they are now down 3 starting offensive linemen. They lost DeJuan Jones this week. He's not going to be playing.
I had that listed here.
And that's a huge problem, dude. How many teams can lose 3 starting offensive linemen and recover from that and be competitive? I mean, it might put Deshaun Watson really at risk against that Ravens defense if they don't have a game plan for him to get rid of the ball relatively quickly, and if they can't run it, they're in trouble. But he had a great game. He had a good game last week, and Browns dominated a bad Arizona team. They set some crazy records statistically in that game. I think Arizona only had like 58 total yards or something ridiculously low number.
Absolutely awful.
And a defense like the Browns is going to take advantage of that, right? So obviously tomorrow is going to be real interesting. And for Bengals fans, they're rooting for the Browns. They're going to need Cleveland to beat. Somebody has to beat Baltimore for the Bengals or the Browns to have a chance to win the division.
Baltimore looks very good. Browns' remaining schedule: home versus the Steelers, at the Broncos, at the Rams. Home versus the Jaguars, home versus the Bears, at the Texans.
Man, there's a lot of wins.
Home versus the Jets, and away versus the Bengals.
Sounds like should be a lot of wins in there.
They're right in the thick of it in the AFC.
As hard as the Bengals' schedule is down the stretch, the Browns is easy. I mean, quote unquote.
Going to be interesting to see this latter part of the season.
Yeah, I think probably 10, maybe 11 wins the division. 10 wins, although the Browns did this several years ago. 10 wins didn't get them into the playoffs one year, but 10 wins this year in the AFC will probably get you in, and that's kind of what you have to be targeting now. But a lot of drama left in this season, and you're just one injury away from going to hell in a handbasket.
That's the truth,
right? I mean, you really are. So we'll see what happens.
All right, Mike, going over our picks real quick, an update. After last week, you went 3-2 in college. I went 2-3. You're 18-14 in the college picks. I'm 15-17 in pro. You went 2-2, and I went 3-1. So you're 16-19 in the professional ranks, and I am 22-13.
Wow!
And boy, I wish I would.
You need to start a service.
I wish I would have started betting. I'm not a gambler, but it is fun to make the picks.
I might have to do your games this week.
Well, let's go over those right now. We'll do the pro first. We have Texans. These are just the notable games that I picked for the week. Texans at the Bengals. Bengals are favored by 6.5. I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Well, the Texans are playing so well, and that game C.J. Stroud had last week to win on the very last play of the game was fantastic. But the Bengals at home with that defense against a rookie quarterback, I believe I agree with you. I would take the Bengals minus the points.
Okay. Browns at Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 4.5. I thought that might be a little bit larger.
That it is, since they've announced the problems with the offensive lines. If you want to go with the 4.5, that's okay. But it has changed this week with
well, if
the
you
issues.
can figure that out, we can go to the.
It's 6.5 now.
Okay,
so,
Ravens are 6.5. We'll go with that.
Yep.
So I am going to go with the Browns. I think their defense is going to hold it close. I think the Ravens will win, but I think the Browns are going to take that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens. I just think those offensive line woes are too much for the Browns to overcome. I think Baltimore's defense will really give the Browns fits, and unless the Browns can score special teams or a defensive touchdown, I don't think they cover.
Okay. Packers at Steelers. Steelers are minus 3.5. I'm going to go with the Steelers on this one. I think
They're a
Green Bay.
They're a
is just-
paper tiger, though.
They
I
are,
mean,
but the Packers stink too. Did you watch that game last week?
Yeah.
Awful.
Where's that game at?
It's at Pittsburgh.
It is at Pittsburgh. Maybe that's the difference in the game. I'll go ahead. I mean, I'll take Pittsburgh in that one.
Okay. And finally, we'll go with the 49ers at the Jaguars. The 49ers are -3.
What?
And I'm going to go with the 49ers. That's a strange.
I mean, Jacksonville's good, right? I mean,
They are good.
But I feel like the 49ers are going to come out of it
I
sooner
do
or later.
too.
So who did you take?
I took the 49ers.
You're really good at these pro games, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to go with
The Jaguars?
The Jaguars.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to separate us a little bit there.
Okay, so we got those picks. We'll go on to college real quick here. Michigan is at number 9, Penn State. Michigan is -4.5. What you're calling that one? That's
Well,
a noon game.
What's amazing about that is, I think we mentioned this earlier, the line hasn't moved all week, though the head coach is not going to be on the sidelines. What does that tell you about the value of a head coach on game day? I've already bet on this. I'm going to take Penn State in the points at home, right, in Happy Valley. Is that correct?
It is at Penn State.
And they're getting points. I'm going to take Penn State in the points in that game.
Just for fun, I'm going to go with Michigan. I think they're going to do the old us against the world mentality in this one, and I think they'll cover. I just don't think Penn State's that good, so I'm going to go with Michigan. Next game, Miami at number 4, Florida State. This is kind of an interesting one, Mike. Florida State is favored by 14.5. That's a 3:30 game on ABC.
It's a rivalry game. I've been to that game. I went to the University of Miami. Long story short, I was living in South Florida at the time, and a buddy of mine had season tickets
old
through his
Orange
work.
Bowl?
Yes,
Awesome.
had season tickets, and I went to every home game the year they won the national championship with Bernie Kosar, or the year before. The year they won the national championship with Bernie Kosar at quarterback.
Okay.
I went to every home game that season and saw the Miami Florida State game. It is a heated rivalry. I mean, it is very, very
Yes,
heated.
it is.
And I'm going to take the underdog in a rivalry game like that. So I'll take
Okay.
the points.
Mike is going with Miami plus 14.
What a
and
dump
half.
the old Orange Bowl was, though. That may be a conversation for another podcast.
We
What
will.
a dump.
We're going to cover that because I went to a game there as well.
Ugh.
I'm going to go with Florida State. I think Miami stinks, and I think Florida State.
Your logic is
just
always
good.
about who stinks. You're going to go with the other team.
Let's see. We'll go Michigan State at number 3, Ohio
Does
State.
Michigan State stink?
I have Ohio State favored by 30.5.
Oh, is that right? I don't think that's correct.
Okay, that's
Let me
that's
look
the one
really
I saw.
quick.
And while you're doing that, we'll also do USC at number 6, Oregon. Oregon is favored by 14.5.
USC versus Oregon. Oregon 14.5. My goodness. Did you see the quarterback crying on his mom's shoulders after the game? Was that not a little weird?
That is really strange.
That's purely a millennial generation move, wasn't it?
I have to agree
I'm
with you on
sorry.
that one.
Boy, I'm going to take the points in USC. They can't be that bad, are they?
I'm going to do the same. So
You're
you
right,
and I will both
You're
will
right
take
in the Ohio
USC.
State game. I said the wrong spread.
But
It's 31.
I do think USC stinks. But I think they're going to cover the 14.5. So we're going with the 30.5 spread on the Ohio State, Michigan State.
Yep. Boy,
I'm going to
that's a
go with
big
Michigan
number.
State just because I think that's too high.
That is a big number. But you know what? At the same time, you kind of feel like Ohio State's going to come out and just explode one of these days offensively, whether it's this week or next week. But that's a ton of points. Michigan State does stink, but I'm going to take the underdog and the points in that game. That's
All right.
Hope for a backdoor cover.
Okay. And Mike, as we approach the wrap-up session here of the show today, let's real quick, let's do helmet stickers.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe of Alabama, and I'm kind of shocked even with myself for going with him because of the way he started the season. But boy, has he come on for Alabama. And my helmet sticker goes to him for his game versus LSU. He was 15 of 23 for 219 yards, a 65% completion percentage, and he had 4 rushing touchdowns. He was just absolutely phenomenal. And just a real quick note, Alabama has won 35 out of their last 36 SEC home games, which is incredible. And the last one they lost, Mike, was to LSU in 2019. And that was the year that LSU won the national championship with Joe Burrow.
Well, and that's something. I still think Alabama's lurking in the weeds out there. They might have a little bit of a fight today.
I agree with you.
At Kroger Field in Kentucky, but they're just lurking out there, man, and loving it where they're at. If they can win out, they're in the playoffs, and never count out Nick Saban. My helmet sticker this week goes in honor of the fact that it's Memorial Day, in honor of the fact that it's Veterans Day. I'm going to go with a guy by the name of Bryson Daly, plays quarterback for Army last week against Air Force, who came into the game ranked 25th and 8-1. Army was 2-5 coming into the game, 2-6, excuse me. They beat Air Force, Army did, 23-3. Bryson Daly, the quarterback, 4 for 9. Throwing the ball for 40 yards, but 36 carries for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Had a long one of 62.
That's impressive.
Very impressive. Happy Veterans Day to everybody out there that might be listening to us.
That's a good one, Mike. Good job.
And Bryson Daly, the helmet sticker this week for Army, who upset Air Force. What a win.
Well, Mike, certainly enjoyed the conversation. Always great to have Jeff on. It's going to be a fun week for you and I. We will call the regional final next week, Alter versus Wyoming. We'll certainly have more information on that one and the results.
Hey, for me, it's the best time of the year because I'm coaching basketball every single day. In fact, we got a scrimmage coming up, and I got the football games to watch and call, and I'm happy as a pig in slop.
Absolutely. Well, folks, do us a favor on the way out. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. We want to do more here at Gamecast Radio, but we need your help to grow the channel. So please subscribe on your way out. Thanks for joining us for Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the sports.
So long, everybody.